Always hung out with the girls. Always hung out with the girls. Always hung out with the girls. The girls, they accepted me.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of The Fluid Voice. Just to mention ahead of time, this will be a pre-record, although at least one, if not all of us, will probably be in chat. Anyways, I am Ozma In The Dark, wearing a green... Oh no, I forgot the show. The Black Clover. Oh, it says it right on the shirt. Black Clover shirt, and with posters behind me, and I am here and utilizing she, they pronouns for the purposes of creating a show. Perfict. I'm also with Perfict. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, using he, him pronouns, and sporting a snazzy cartoon that you drew for me.
Yeah, of oh no, I forgot the name. X the Owl?
X the Owl.
Okay, yeah. And I am joined this week by a good friend of mine, Xevaris. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the guy with the headphones.
Yes, and today we are here to talk about toxicity in gaming. In part because I had conversations with Zev about this, in person, but like, it is something that needs to be talked about because it is something that exists to at least some degree. And how much is the gaming industry? How much is the attitude of culture? And how much of it is just jerks being loud? I don't know. We'll start. What are your initial thoughts? Perfect. Let's start with you. What are your initial thoughts about toxicity in gaming?
Well, I think that since there's been any kind of online gaming, there has been toxicity in gaming. I think it's the anonymity plus internet access it results in this. It's inevitable. But I think it's a problem that can be addressed socially. There's no way to make rules or structures within the internet to work against it, but it's a social environment, it's a social behavior, and the social structures are what answer it.
Okay. And Zev, what are your initial thoughts about toxicity?
I just want to say I kind of agree with Perfict there. I think that a lot of this is a social circle thing. And the primary cause for, I think, toxicity in online spaces is just the anonymity part of it. People just have way too much leeway to let, I don't know, baser instincts out. I don't know where toxicity comes from psychologically, but it feels like if you give a random person like anonymity, they're going to become more toxic and more not normally functioning. Like, you wouldn't have these people doing these kinds of toxic things in a normal society with people right in front of you, right? So like, it's an abnormal behavior that only is triggered with the anonymity part being there, and ways that you solve it is predominantly social. Although I would like to clarify that also includes, for me, things like TOSs for companies. To me, that's a social, like, policing. That's not like a government thing. So if like Twitter's TOS, that qualifies to me as something like a social manipulation of an audience to reduce toxicity, and I think that's appropriate and acceptable.
My instinct completely disagree with everything. No, TOS is complicated in terms of how it's set up to be used, obviously, because as someone in a marginalized community, I will say that there are right-wing trolls who will do just get a raid of mentions saying that TOS was broken if it's someone who they don't want to be around. So it needs the right amount of monitoring for it to work properly, and maybe it probably also needs a way so that if you I'm not actually sure how to make it better, to be honest.
I wasn't making any claim as to the actual like quality of that monitoring. My position was simply that I was agreeing with Perfict in that I think that the only way that you help reduce toxicity is by having a community involvement. And I think that like we can talk about the base level. You've got a group of 10 people who have a Discord together and they moderate each other's language in that Discord, right? That's a social community, right? That's kind of what Perfect was talking about. I was simply saying that I agree that that's the case, but I also think that that extends to a company's TOS. Like those are the same types of management where you have a group of 10 people policing each other's thoughts and language inside the Discord, right, to achieve less toxicity. Similarly, you have a company having a TOS attempting to reduce levels of toxicity. I'm not talking about the effectiveness of it, simply saying that I don't believe that a company's TOS is anything other than an official social contract for the people engaging on that platform. And like that, I agree with Perfect that the policing of said social contract is the only way to really reduce toxicity. There isn't like some like, I don't think we can like mass brainwash people into not being toxic online. Like, I don't think we can.
And I don't want to take away people's bodily autonomy for the purposes of reducing toxicity. That just seems cruel.
And I also don't think that would, like, if you could, that would be the only way you could like do it 100%, right? If you could change people's minds, like with telepathy or something. But like, if you tried to do it with like a government agency saying, well, you get punished for being toxic online, that's just not going to work either. Like the only way to actually have some form of success with removing toxicity in gaming and in the online spaces is via self-policing, via social contracts. I guess I'm just trying to say roundabout that I agree with Perfect. I just think that the social contract thing is it's beyond just individuals working together. It can be something as like a Twitter TOS, which I agree isn't enforced uniformly or perfectly all over the place. But I think we can all agree that Twitter would be a worse place without any form of TOS, without any form of moderation, and therefore Perfect's position is correct that moderation and social contracting between people on online spaces is the only way to remove said toxicity, or at least help reduce it.
Yeah, and in terms of yes, I agree Twitter would be worse without TOS, and also they wouldn't really be able to function as a large company without a TOS, because you can't have people inciting violence on Twitter and not have moderation rules and still function as a company, because you can get into liability issues there.
Correct.
Yeah, the liability issues. What the TOS serves as is a declaration of the climate, the social climate that they want to try and be encouraging.
Yes.
But you can't make draconian laws into your TOS and make it work without the TOS is really there as when you say, hey, that's not appropriate behavior, and they say, who says so? And they say, you signed that you said you would agree not to do that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really its effect in the world, is you can say, no, you already agreed not to do that. You're just breaking your word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess ultimately, I agree with you, and I just overthought things a step too far with that. However, some of it is, yes, I partially agree with one of your other points where it's yes, the in general public, yeah, people wouldn't do those toxic things. However, I'm not with smaller friend groups. I think people would still do those toxic things to each other. Some people would, and try to build a hierarchy in a small group of friends. It's just it's not socially acceptable by the general populace.
I agree.
have
There's some overlap there with, levels of anonymity equating to levels of toxicity, but levels of familiarity at a certain extent also breed levels of toxicity between those familiar with each other. Like, you know, there's the colloquialism that brother or siblings fight, right? And it's because they're so close. That's why they fight. And it's similarly like when you get a group of online friends together in a video game space and you're generally in a competitive environment, what will happen is you will generally breed toxicity within that small group too.
are you suggesting that familiarity breeds contempt?
Maybe I am.
um yeah,
Yeah,
and
I've recently heard of two cases, which I mean, in the last week, where people were talking about how they, uh, within a group, people who they personally knew used pejorative terms about them to them in ways that I would consider simply horrible. These are friendship ending sort of comments. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And they were not taking them that way, but I was like, that's really weird. The two things are weird there. One, that they did that. Two, that you find that in any way acceptable.
well, in terms of the acceptability thing, that's always a slope. I mean, that's how things move towards fascism.
I mean, one was racial and one was specifically about transgender, and that they were being maligned for being transgender. And I was like, either one of those, you need to get better friends. Is
So like there's always been like I feel like there's always been a line, especially since me and Ozma have known each other for so long. Um, like the odd here or there like trans joke that Ozma and I have laughed about, these are not hateful jokes. If that
Yeah.
makes like there's a
yeah,
line there. Like you can joke with your minority friends and stuff about their minority status as long as it's actually from a place of like understanding and care. And I
Yeah.
think most people can really pick and choose that line. I would say that within online gaming spaces, that line goes the hell away. Like it's, um, I've Ozma's been in my guild, in my World of Warcraft guild, and raided with me
Yeah.
before. And I run a pretty strict ship on the anti-racism, anti-bigotry line. But within that same guild and other raid teams, they have adopted more of the general gamer idea, and they've had trans raiders there before, and they get really mean. I would definitely say mean. I don't know if you remember Kitten's Meow, Ozma, but this is who I'm referring
Yeah.
to. Trans woman in our guild and would like almost jump in to the pool of nastiness willingly and make fun of their own transness in a really derogatory and nasty way. And that bred more of that. And I see that all over the place. That in these online spaces, these jokes among like close friend groups get really nasty really quickly. And I'm not 100% sure if it comes from a place of actual bigotry, but it definitely doesn't look good.
I think I get the impression that it may be it may be partially due to power things. So I know it's everyone's different and it's not always exactly like this. So but generally, if you're in a guild, in a good guild, that outside of jokes that generally upset you, because there's more than one type of circumstance where this occurs. So outside of any things you like, any of the really awful comments, you like rating with them, and then some people are like, okay, that's fine, just so they can keep rating, and so they don't have to leave the guild and try to find another guild, which could be far worse. There's that, but there's also some people I feel like try to be one of the good ones to get along, and will do the same thing they do with more toxic spaces than to every place. And I think that might have been more what Kittens Meow it did, but like I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate on her specific emotions, but what I do know is that Kittens typically tried to move to more competitive zones. So she was trying to move up into more competitive game guilds and more competitive games and stuff like that. She was actually very good at League of Legends, for example. I think she was like Plat 3 or something like that.
Okay.
And what I find is when people get higher up in more competitive zones in gaming, you tend to find more toxicity too. I think when that competition level rises, you get more and more heated. I don't think that it's appropriate to say that high competition level in gaming breeds like actual like bigotry, but it definitely breeds a higher level of toxicity to a point, and then it completely falls off. Like it goes like when you're talking about climbing the League of Legends ladder in terms of like ranking, right? It will get toxic, and more toxic the higher and higher you go, until you reach what's known as the challenger rank in League of Legends. At challenger rank, you are basically top 100 in your region, which basically means you are equivalent of a pro player. No pro player engages in that level of toxicity or bigotry.
Well,
Almost no, I would say almost no
You'll
player.
lose your sponsorships.
There's definitely been lots of really like clear cut like visual examples, viral examples of some really toxic top end gamers, but you're not going to see the actual pro players engaging in that kind of stuff in their training, on their Twitch streams, or in any kind of actual pro games or anything like that. Once you get to that pro level, that kind of just falls off. And even still, like when you're getting to actual pros, people who are paid money by real teams, they have psychologists on their training staffs that help them work through anti-toxicity trainings and stuff like that. So like it's not directly tied to competition. It's not correlated. There's just some overlap there is what I'm trying to say.
well,
I don't think that competition is the thing that's breeding bigotry, but there's some correlation with as you go higher in competition, so too are you going to get higher in the toxicity.
Well, I think it's really it might be a bit of a mixed bag, because I think because the managers are not necessarily always the same as the players, and there's a toxic environment in gaming corporate stuff, Activision Blizzard. Anyways, but like well, I mean, they all Riot Games has some, Ubisoft is just as bad as anything alleged for Activision Blizzard, but Ubisoft just hasn't gotten in as much trouble for it. But like you have this, but also I heard from Biofrost when he came out, and he's like, he's a professional League player, and he was talking about toxicity and in some of the aspects, and the thing is, you don't see a lot of openly marginalized folks in any sporting thing, and I wonder how much of that is the toxicity to get there, and how much of it is some of the managerial staff who aren't necessarily as young or as knowledgeable. Or
I guess I should clarify what I mean by toxicity in gaming dropping off after you reach like that pro status, because I'm not referring to interpersonal relationships with your teammates at that point. I'm not referring to like your boss being a crappy boss or something like that. We're talking like when I'm talking about like toxicity in gaming, I'm talking about generally what's happening while you're playing the game.
Oh, okay.
So like generally speaking, if you're going to have a marginalized group in a pro gaming squad and like they're feeling the effects of their marginalized status, it's generally because, you know, while you're at the gaming facility, you walk down the hallway and your mid laner teammate, you know, calls you the F slur or something, right? That's not gaming toxicity. That's workplace toxicity, in my opinion. We have now crossed the line from gaming toxicity to your workplace is now a toxic environment for you. Like what I mean by this is like as you get through the ranks and like let's go back to the League of Legends example, you will see people typing in all chat. For those not available or not in the know about League, it means the global chat when you can talk to the other team using the all chat, and you have, you know, normal levels of competition. Let's say you make a good play on somebody, so you rub it in their face a little bit. I don't believe that trash talking is inherently like part of toxic like culture. I think that's just normal competitive culture as long as it doesn't cross lines. So let's say you make a good play and you say, haha, I got you good. That's really, really tame trash talking, but that's just trash talking. Now, we can escalate that to actual toxicity where I make a good play on you and I call you the F slur in all chat. Now we've crossed into toxic gaming, right? And what I'm trying to say is that drops off as you get to the toppest tier of play in almost any video game. Like that kind of toxicity, the actual stuff that you would normally participate or see in the ride up to there goes away after a certain point because people have cut that type of mentality generally by that point. Because the person who's screaming in all chat at you, screaming the F slur at you, they're never going to be good enough to be at that pro level because they're busy worried about the things in their mind about calling you the F slur or getting in your head that way. No pro player actually thinks like that because they're actually thinking about the game. Even if that person is an actual racist or an actual misogynist or an actual transphobe, that pro player would never expend that energy in that game that way because they're a pro player.
Well, as well, I think that by the time you're a pro player, you have corporate duties and you've got sponsors. And if you're calling them slurs, you're slurring 23% of the market for those shoes that you have a sponsorship for, whatever. You know, whatever you have a sponsorship for, you just cost them money by doing that. They're going to talk to you about that.
On that same line, right? Like if you're a pro player, if you're like we've talked about the TOS, like League of Legends has a TOS, dropping that F slur is against TOS and you can get banned for it. So no pro player is going to risk their account getting banned just to, you know, stroke their own ego for their own racism or misogyny or whatever it is. So that's what I was trying to say is like, as I don't think that type of outburst negativity, toxicity, the exclusion in gaming, like that kind of stuff, that is only in the low to mid tier player bracket generally. And I don't think it's tied to competition, but you will see more of it as you get higher and then it'll just sharply drop off.
Well, yes, except for the occasional random person if you're like streaming, because I've seen a faker stream where someone is in like insulting faker because he has a bad day and he lost a few times.
We've been mostly talking about toxicity as it relates to like real world like identification, stuff like that, like being like targeted for transness or gay and whatever. But there's another aspect of toxicity that we don't even talk about, which is like the elitism toxicity, which is what you're talking about. There's the anti-elitism toxicity. When you talk about Faker specifically, one of the best players in the world, people will tank his games if they're on his team. He has repeatedly tried to say that he's going to boycott or quit playing solo queue in his home region because players will notice that they're queued with him as a teammate, and then they will throw the game on purpose to make Faker lose. That is another aspect of extreme toxicity, I would say, that is like specific to gaming. You would never see like some NBA player got traded to LeBron James's team and just starts like playing awfully on purpose.
Yeah.
Just to screw over LeBron because he hates LeBron. Like that would never
Usually
happen.
it's by accident.
Yeah, usually his players just suck. So,
but yeah, you see little elements of that, or I see little elements of that in League, like like there's this weird attitude where people care too much about kills and deaths and don't care about assists at all, and also like people complaining if I gank the enemy player and if they thought they could kill the enemy player, and I'm like, my brain is just like, I can't guarantee they would have been able to reach that player. I'm helping. I am doing what I'm supposed to do. Teamwork makes the dream work. You're supposed to do this as a team, otherwise you're doing it wrong. And then also, I get I've had players in games like yell at me if I'm not like having the best game for a variety of reasons. I've also gotten pissed at bad plays, but that's different. I don't actually type that in chat. Well, no, I do type "fu" in chat if one of the bot lane or the ADC assists me with the first jungle kill and then steals it, especially with Warwick, because Warwick only has single target, so that really screws me over like hardcore. And for my own teammates to screw me over that hardcore right at the start of the game, it does piss me off.
yeah, so that can be another place where toxicity is bred from, right? Like your own personal levels of competition, feeling let down by teammates, that kind of thing, and that can breed like resentment and therefore breeds toxicity. It's
well yeah,
playing in an online space is very difficult. I would just say that.
Well, and the thing is that only happens if you hold on to that. Because like I will say "F you" in chat and do that, and then I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna do my best to try to win the game, and that's it. They either screwed up or were a jerk. None of my business. Back to the game. After I type "F you" in chat, because.
But
How
so
could
you've
you?
agreed that you willingly went to toxicity. I would say dropping the F-bomb in chat, like calling.
Well, no,
someone out
I didn't type in the full F-bomb. I just said F space U space.
Well, that's still but that
Yeah,
would say that, but
I
to
think
be
you
honest with
communicated it. Yeah.
That's limited levels of toxicity. Like if we're talking about on a scale of 1 to 100, that's a 1. Like I'm just gonna be out now. That's a 1. Like we can get all the way up to like racial slurs and like,
Oh God,
death
yeah.
threats and like all the rest, right? A casual FU is a 1, but it's still toxic.
Technical issue. Xevaris, your volume dropped considerably for me.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's technically dropped for me as well for some reason. Did your microphone plug loosen or something, and that
Testing,
switched to
can
the
you
other
hear me
mic?
better? Maybe it switched, yeah.
That's just a possibility. There's also, I mean, there are people who use toxic behavior to make themselves the center of attention. And that's a problem with online gaming. And it's there's a habit that is formed with people where when you play a video game at home with you and the computer, you are the star and everybody else is just there to be abused by you in any way that you desire. And if you say, don't stab the old lady, you go, why not? They say, well, she has valuable information that she will give you later. You go, oh, okay, but then I can stab her, right? These sorts of things don't matter. They're not real people. And then you move into an online space where you're dealing with real people, and there's still the desire to be the center, the star, the only one that matters. And people get frustrated when they are not the center and the star, and they don't know how to be the center and the star, because they may be very good at the game, but they're not good enough that they're the center and the star. They aren't LeBron James. Okay. They aren't the franchise player. And they use toxicity to make themselves the center. They are seeking negative attention. It's just straight negative attention seeking through using toxicity.
Just want to test. Can you guys hear me? Or is it still light?
Still hear you, but not
Still
much
light?
better than when you quieted down.
I'm gonna try to. Sorry, I'm gonna try to leave and come back. I'm sorry for this technical difficulties.
Okay.
Bound to happen.
Yeah. I mean, technical difficulties are technical difficulties.
So I know I was pushing off into a different direction on this thing, but I think that there's a decent amount of that does go on, that that's part of what feeds the whole toxic environment. And I'm
yes.
interested in, what you and Xevaris think of that point. But his contribution on that is going to have to wait.
Yes. So yes, and also
Hello, testing. Better?
oh, yeah. That is strangely better.
Yeah.
No idea what happened.
Yeah,
Try plugging it in, unplugging it, plugging it back in again.
Turn it off and turn it back on. That's what I did.
There we go.
yeah. The fixed all problems, but like yeah, Perfict was talking about negative attention in terms of that I think some of it's that some of it also involves a lack of self-reflection. I think some people see everyone, like, if something goes wrong, it's everyone else's fault, or it's like this person's fault. This person is doing the worst of the team, besides the person complaining. But yeah, and oftentimes it's always simplified down to kills and deaths. Like, I've had people be like, "Oh, you've got only like a couple kills and deaths, and it doesn't matter if I have like 20 assists." They're like, "Oh, you have no kills." It's like,
Yeah, this is a real world problem though too, but I just don't understand. Like, again, this is because the anonymity, because of the separation, like people act differently than they would in the real world. Like, for example, like in my guild, when I raid World of Warcraft, lately we've been doing progression in Sunwell Plateau. It's the newest raid that's out. And I constantly have to mediate between my tanks and my healers. Because if I say, "Hey tank, did you do X?" they immediately blow up at me and be like, "Well, why isn't this not a healer problem?" And if I ask the healers if they did X, it's, "Why isn't this a tank problem? Why is it always my fault?" People have a real hard time with accepting that they've made a mistake, or entertaining the even idea that they made a mistake. Because sometimes, like I said, I've just asked a question like, "Hey, tank, are you in your full mitigation set?" Why would you even ask that? Well, like, why is the first thing you ask a tank question, not a healer question? Like, you didn't even answer my question. I'm just asking you a question. You have no idea what my thought process is. Like, I've had to couch my language so hard on so many different things. If you call someone out, you have to be like, I have to be as patient as possible with some people, and some people I can be hard on, and it's all just about personal mentality. And like, the people that you can't be hard on, those people, those people have probably the strongest proclivity to being toxic. Yeah, I noticed that a lot. People who are the most toxic are the people who can't take the criticism the most. And I think maybe that some level of online toxicity is, especially in gaming, is potentially just like a defense mechanism.
I think depends. Obviously, there's the most toxic people who are toxic, because there are those people who are toxic in any environment and they are always the loudest, so it seems like there's more of them than there are. But as for the criticism thing, I am pretty sure there's at least one or two times when I was healing in what was it, the Nexramas,
Mhm.
was it Nexramas, or the big floaty temple.
Yep, next Ramus.
Yeah, there was at least a couple times like when you called me out during progression with that, where I got pissed. Like it's hard with the adrenaline, the frustration. I think those both like do not work. Do not work in your favor when it comes to this stuff, because you really have to be zen to be a good gamer.
Yeah, and to be a bit more fair on you, like that was 2.5 years ago. I was not as good of a raid leader as I am now. I am far more patient these days. And when I used to call people out back then, I would probably a bit more harshly. So it's probably a bit more difficult to maintain that level of composure, especially like frustration's high, just like you were talking about with your FU burst. Like if I've said, please do X, 50 times, and I'm still telling people please do X more because they're just not doing X. Like my patience is getting real low at that point. And so like, yeah, I might blow up and call somebody out a little more harshly than necessary, and that's toxic. I think like I said earlier, there's some levels of correlation between toxicity and levels of competition, but I don't think that they're 100% correlated, because you can always be better. Like I am right now. I believe that I'm a much better raid leader than I was 2.5 years ago. The content is way more difficult, and I'm way more patient now than I was 2 years ago. So like, there's always work that can be done individually to reduce your levels of toxicity that come about through competition. And then beyond that, like, yeah, we've talked about the racist, bigoted, toxicity, and then like there's the competition based toxicity. The one other piece of toxicity that we're getting to is like the toxicity of mediocrity in gaming, that I think that people need to address sometimes, especially when the game is defined as competitive. Don't get me wrong, not all games are competitive, and some games, 0 levels of toxicity are acceptable, because the whole point of
Yeah.
the game is to not be like, it's to be good. Like, I don't know, like Animal Crossing. Nobody should be mad when playing Animal Crossing. Like it's just like that shouldn't enter your thought process. Like there should be 0 negative thoughts when playing that game, or some other games out there that are like that. But if you're in a game that has levels of competition to it, like I believe that it is toxic to hold others back with your levels of ineptitude.
Yes, and also I think it's helpful to I agree with you, because that adds to frustration. There are people who, because that is something that's upsetting too, when people are like, it's all there's a particular type of it's all fine, which is not all fine. Because you're dismissing things that people are actually frustrated about, and then you're just saying, oh well, it's almost like saying, oh, your frustration doesn't matter. Like there's a difference between that and the one league game where there's like the nicest player on our team, which like never happens in league. It was a magical moment. But like they were like, oh, it sucks that happened, but like, we're still early on, there's a lot to learn, we can do better type stuff. And like that's cool. But if you're just like, oh, well, whatever, we can just do it again, I guess, it's like, it's time. You're just saying it's like whatever the time I just spent in this game. And this is why like the thing is, passion for games matters as well. Like I don't have the same level of passion for World of Warcraft Classic as I do for League of Legends, and it is very clear. Like I did minimal practice in World of Warcraft Classic. Not to say that I wasn't still good, but I wasn't anywhere near as good as I could possibly be if I tried harder. Now, to compare, I just mentioned like it being a light week where I spent 10 hours, most of which was repeating a jungle run to try to clear a bunch of jungle camps in League of Legends in training mode, just over and over until I get good at the 5 camp clear without screwing up in such a way to get my character killed or whatnot. And it's like I would have never done something like that in World of Warcraft Classic.
Mhm.
I would try my best to listen to advice given and follow directions, but that's not the same.
Yeah, as your former raid leader, I can attest to that 100%. Not to drag you through the mud or anything, but your
No,
levels of like,
I totally agree. I don't think that's. I maybe would have been upset during the time period when I was, because I mean there's a lot more of the frustration, but like now I'm just like, yeah, no.
yeah,
Totally
like
agree.
you were asking me to basically hold your hand through everything. I had to find your groups, do things for you, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And that's because you weren't motivated, and I understand that, and you get that because you see yourself motivated for your own personal improvement, for your Warwick stuff. And yeah, like I understand what you're doing entirely. I tried doing the same thing for a bit when I was trying to get good at League 2, where I would do training mode, training camps for jungle camps and stuff like that. And yeah, that's the kind of commitment that I was looking for from you when we were playing WoW together. But it
Yeah.
was just clear you just weren't interested, and that's perfectly fine. People can be not interested in whatever they want to not be interested
Yeah.
in or whatever. But yeah, that like to like it's a little bit of like toxicity there to like expect like your leadership to like carry you effectively, right? And like again, I'm not trying to like again drag you through the mud. I'm not saying you're a toxic gamer or anything like that, but like that's the type of stuff, the mentality that we have. And I think that starts to seep into toxic levels when that person like starts to feel entitled to that, and they start making demands which you never rise to. So that's why I'm trying to say you weren't like toxic or anything like that. Like I have had people in my raid before where like if I asked them to watch a video, which is you would watch my videos if I asked you to watch
Yeah.
them, right? So you're not that. But I would ask people to do this and they would refuse. Like, no, you should explain it to me at the raid because that's your job as a raid leader. Like, no, it's your job as a raider to become more prepared, and I help after the fact. I need you to do some legwork. And people would be like, no, I don't want to do that. That's toxic. Or like, hey, you need to improve your healing. I need you to go get more healing gear from the dungeons outside of our raid times, and I need you to go look up guides and learn to get better. No, I'm not going to do that. That's toxic. Um, like it, when it comes to a competitive game, like anybody who's demanding people improve at non-competitive games, that's the person who's toxic, not the person refusing. But if you're willingly participating in a competitive environment in a competitive game and you're willingly choosing to not improve, like you are toxic. That is another form of toxicity in gaming, in my opinion.
Yeah. If Yeah, because you can't have it both ways. You can't have the clout of being in a good raid team and not have the effort to be a good member in that team.
Right. But I think that's true in like with a lot of things that we've been talking about, things that are toxic in gaming. These are 100% toxic in real life too, right? Like,
Yeah.
like don't get me wrong, I'm pretty like r/anti-work these days. I really freaking hate jobs, but at the same time, if you have coworkers that are relying on you to do stuff for their job to make their lives less stressful, and you're purposely dropping the ball, I think most people would call that person the asshole. Like. Like I really think most people would. Like even in our capitalistic society that we all hate, you still have a small obligation to your fellow, class worker.
Yeah,
Right?
well, yeah, and that goes all the way back. That toxicity is like everywhere, and reminds me of school when there's like a paper, and like there's 4 people working on a paper, and you and maybe one other person shows up to actually do the paper and do
Right.
the report together, and no one else helps.
It's a great point. I didn't even think about going that far back, but we all learned this in grade school with group projects, right? Like it all sucks when one person has to do the whole group project. And yeah, I don't know. It's toxic to not pull your weight in the group project.
Well, okay, no, I mean it. I mean that can be used negatively too, because everyone's got their own limits. It depends. Like a lot of this is very situational. Like you know it when you see it, but like there's other stuff. And Perfict, you've been relatively quiet.
Well, we're kind of past the first part of the show, so not worrying about the monetization or anything anymore. But there's a Penny Arcade put forward a formula. I'll look it up and post it when this runs or whatever. But it's specifically anonymity plus internet access equals total fuckwad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and once again, it's not even the lack of risks brings out aspects of your personality, because I've also seen like the absolute best on the internet, and sometimes people are just like really sweet, but the thing is, when people are shouted at with games, it is a disincentivizing factor. Like I've heard people, I know there's like another streamer I've watched before who mentioned like quitting Apex Legends because of the toxicity in there. And the difference between Apex Legends and League of Legends is Apex Legends, you hear the toxicity in person, or you hear the toxicity not in person, but like you hear toxicity on the microphone. It's just in typing in League, and you can technically shut that off. Which is usually recommended. Like every video I watch of like champion or master level players, it's just like advice for low level players to try to rise up. Turn off the chat.
Yeah.
Ignore League of Legends chat. It's terrible. It's toxic. Like so there's a level of awareness to that once you get past a certain point. And usually it's the master, grandmaster, champion level, where when those people give advice, they're usually the ones who are just like, yeah, no, the community is trash. No.
Yeah, like Perfict said, I think you can sum it up as like, anonymity, internet, you're an asshole. And then like there's the other half of that, like we discussed, which is that, you can become an asshole if you get too close to people. And the rest that we talked about is really just the finer detail points of those 2 points, but it's really just that. It's people are assholes to people they know, and people are assholes to people they don't know, and it's all even more heightened when no one actually knows who you really are.
Yeah, and also oh,
I would also, people do that, and then they say, they behave horribly towards each other, and then they say, no, it's all right, I know him, we know each other, and that does not make it all right.
Yeah.
I don't care that you know each other, don't do that in front of me. I don't want that.
Yeah, and that goes back to the point that you made. It's about the social, contract. Like, but also like that's undermined a little bit. Like, because like in my Discord, in my guild community, I don't allow racism, I don't allow sexism, I don't allow homophobia, all that good stuff. But I know for a fact that all of my players go elsewhere, and maybe they have other channels on other places where they still do those things. So my small like Discord, sure, where everybody can congregate, that's not allowed, but that doesn't like stop those things from happening elsewhere or with those same people in my own community in other communities. I don't know. You just got to carve out your own personal safe space on the internet.
Well, yeah, I mean, to some degree, but also, there's also the element of like, because you do change people's minds. Like, if you make an environment that is more pleasant than the other environments they could go to, then they're more motivated to spend more time in the better environment and follow the policies, and they might start to think at some point that they might actually be good policies.
Sort of. I got an example for you. So there's a guy in my guild. He goes by some variation of joshing, and like
I
all
know
his
who you're
characters,
talking
just
about.
joshing, just joshed. Yeah, that's all his characters' names.
Yeah.
So joshing is a younger man, probably mid early 20s, something like that. And he comes around our Discord often. He's basically all the time in our Discord hanging out with us. And he's been writing with us for 2+ years now. So he was a teenager and now he's a young adult. So we've had a lot of time to like mold him basically into a better gamer. But even still, even though he spends the bulk of his time hanging out with me in my Discord under the better premises, like he still goes and hangs out elsewhere for his own purposes because we're not always playing, we're not always online, and
Yeah.
he's got way more time than me, so he's got other friends elsewhere to go play with. He goes to go hang out in another guild and comes back and has new like catchphrase that I had never heard before. And just a clarifying question that I am aware of the subtext of what I'm about to say. So he came back into our Discord and kept mentioning my brother in Christ all the time. Like he would just say it all the time at the end of every single thing that he said, basically. He became Naruto with his dat bio. It was basically after everything else that he said is like my brother in Christ. And we were just really had no idea, honestly, because I'm just
I have no idea. This is one of those ones where I guess I'm learning today of a new form of toxicity.
Yeah, we learned about this too. I thought it was interesting. So we like the whole guild had no idea what the heck what this was about. And on a whim, one of my officers decided to like research it and Google it and Google foo it up and found out that this is actually a super right-wing meme to get away with saying the N-word. It's a filler for any time somebody would normally say the N-word. That's 100% what it's for. What you'll find if you Google it is like a bunch of images or memes where, typically the N-word would be on that meme, and instead it says my brother in Christ and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So
wow, I totally approve of their taking over that imagery and spoiling that phrase. I think that phrase, we've now got a good reason why that should be removed entirely from the language.
But my point here is like this is a guy who spent most of my time in my community, right? Should be, by your logic there, being changed to my mentality and my ideology here about not being racist and homophobic, etc. But even spending like 10% of his time in a bad community already changed and resulted in him using memes that were of that variety. He immediately stopped using it after we told him about it, and we now make fun of him for falling into the right-wing rabbit hole. But like,
so he was unintentionally doing. He didn't realize it's.
He had no idea. He picked it up from the other team that he was running with on his alt days. He had no idea what the actual meme was about, and I actually fully trust him when he says this because he's just like I said, he's a younger guy. I've known him since he was like 18. So like, I get it, and especially since that's how it's designed. That's how the rabbit hole is designed. It's designed to pull you in without any knowledge.
I know somebody who was posting Pepe, who I honestly, when I talked with them about it, they were like, they thought it was a cute frog.
Yeah.
Well, it was originally a cute frog.
That was what it was originally. And
Pepe is such an interesting one because it's gone around in the circle. Right now, Pepe is considered fine. Like you'll find most trans and LGBT people online using Pepe because it's now become ironic to the point where it's no longer referencing what it originally referenced. Like the 4chan original creators of Pepe are probably mauling right now because it's not doing what they wanted it to do anymore. It's been memed to the ground. It's now
because the original creator of the image was taken by right-wing stuff. The original creator of the image called it.
No, I get it. I'm talking about the people who made it a thing originally on 4chan. They took it and tried to make it a racist symbol. It worked. It was for a while like a white nationalist like calling card, and then it became memed into the ground like it is now. And now it's just standard internet language that means literally nothing other than like the one that gets around my Discord around is Pepe sad. Anytime like something bad happens, like you see the crying Pepe. And now like it's that one's just so weird because that one did start incredibly awfully, and now everybody uses it weird.
And it's but it just takes a couple of years of.
Yeah. But that was my point though, is like, so like like I said, we can have our nice spaces, but like they are really just that space that is nice. You can't really provide too much like broad reach. You can do your best, but at the end of the day, like it's on the individual to police their own internet content to help them prevent from radicalizing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
The internet's just too big. You can't regulate it, right? Like,
well, yeah, no. I just mean like, people get ideas, people learn. It's nothing's a guarantee with that stuff, but just, I'm just trying to say that having a positive space is some positive impact, and some of it you'll see, and some of it you won't see, and sometimes people in it won't properly go that way or stay that way, and we'll go back to old habits, because there's also real life. Like there's like a million different things affecting people, and I just think having one more good space has more influence than you might think, but not like tons and tons of influence.
that's fair.
And like you said, he didn't know in this case.
True.
And it might have just been a ticking time bomb until there was a different red flag where he was just like, oh, this is what? I'm just gonna quietly walk away from this and never show back up.
In policing spaces, you have to deal with a lot of things like sea lioning and that kind of thing. The people who want to do what do you mean I need to stop doing that? What is it that's wrong with what I was doing? Why do you think that that's bad? And I have found, I have my own methods for dealing with such things that are, oh, you've misunderstood. You think that it's my objective here to try and make you into a better person. I just want to make this space work right. That's what I want. If you leave, that's of no never mind to me. I don't care how I make this space work right. I care that I make this space work right.
Right.
So I'm telling you, we don't do that around here.
Yeah, it's your home.
You understand what I mean by that? Not my problem. Work it out, leave, whatever you like.
Yeah, your Discord is effectively your home.
But that in policing policing other spaces too. I mean, where I have mod powers in those spaces, but that's in my opinion, but that doesn't cover everything. Like somebody who is you go, see that what's wrong with that is that it has these connections, and they go, oh crap, sorry about that, didn't know that one. And you go, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the nature of.
You can spot.
I don't know why I can't think of the word. The word where you say something, and racist people have been doing it forever. The thing where they say one thing, but what they
dog
really
whistling?
mean, yeah, dog whistling. Apparently that was just dog whistle as a term was just flying out of my head. Yeah, dog whistling can be complicated, and not everyone will know each and every dog whistle.
God, yes. I
mean, we just learned about one now.
Yeah. Somebody provided me with an internet link to a list of dog whistles for white supremacists to listen to the speech that was given by Trump after the incident a few years back in North Carolina with the rally.
Oh yeah, the rally.
and the person who got run over and
Yeah.
so on, and that it was just dog whistles end to end. It was, and I had so many of them. I'm like, okay, it's ridiculous how many of them there are. It's just festooned with them.
I mean, it turns into its own language. There's other parallels for that too, right? Like, what was it in the 1920s? What was the? I can't remember what it's called. There was the specific subtle language that gay people would use to communicate with each other.
Oh,
I can't remember what it's called, but like it existed where like, and it's really just a bunch of like stuff that sounds like dog whistles, honestly. Like if I was to explain what I'm trying to talk, like you would say something that you really know means something else, and if you're gay, you know that means something else. Like something like, and this is not an example, but you would say like, I rode my bicycle down the main street yesterday means like we want to go fuck or something like that. Like that's the kind of stuff that it's always existed in human social circles. You come up with specific language that's a code that like other people know that you know. Like gamers even have this. Like if I say the word pog to a random person, they're gonna be like, what the hell does that mean? What is pog?
Sorry,
Like-
I was busy ganking today.
Yeah, like there's language that gamers
did you wash
have.
your hands afterwards?
I mean, like the reality is like you could use gamer speak like that to dog whistle to other gamers. If you're in a room with a bunch of non-gamers and there's one gamer in the room, you could and you were told to find them, you just use some gamer terms and you'd find them. Like you would dog whistle to your gamer friend in the room.
Like, what is this? What was this person only seeing stuff in 30 FPS? Like, what's going on here?
But I think that the thing that differentiates it for the alt-right, right-winger stuff is like a lot of these terms are like specifically created to do what happened to my friend Joshing, where like they parrot it, repeat it, and then like it's basically a recruitment tool intended to like change minds and stuff like that. It's not intended to be an inner circle thing. It's intended to like rope others in.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say it's a toxic form of dog whistling.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could. But yeah, it is also because it's not the weird thing about toxicity in gaming is it's not it's weirder when it's not competitive. Like it's bad when it's competitive. It's really bad when it's competitive, and that's usually the worst. But then you have people like some of the Dark Souls community, and the importance of being like really good at it's a game designed for some people to have fun playing it. That's all Dark Souls is for. It's not even like really a competitive game. Or like
the problem is humans breed competition in this stuff, right? So when you're talking about like Dark Souls, the reason why that's toxic is because people are talking about speed running. Like people are talking about comparing yourself to other people like in that single player environment. We've turned it into a competition when it shouldn't be one. Like, yeah, I think that those get like, but if you found like somebody being toxic about Animal Crossing, like that's where we're gonna have to talk about the worst version of toxicity. Like if you're toxic,
Speedrunning Animal Crossing.
Do people speedrun Animal Crossing? Really?
I have no idea.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I have seen. Okay, so like an example. I have seen of just like the weird toxicity. I watch Small Ants videos. Who Small Ants a speedrunner, largely like different modded versions of the game of like Mario. I can't remember which Mario game, and like Breath of the Wild and stuff, and it's just like there's a speed run he was doing of like you find tricks or whatnot in a speed run, and speed runs oftentimes involve a lot of practice and doing the game over and over and over, and It was during one where he was doing a pet the dog speed run in Wind Waker, and someone was complaining about him making mistakes, was insulting him making mistakes in like a new technique, and him it not being his first run, as if everyone who speed runs does the speed run record time on their first run. And there are aspects of like that attitude in Dark Souls, I feel like, the most, where it's like, oh, you're like, if you can't beat this boss on your first try, you just suck at Dark Souls and you need to like uninstall your game. I hate people who say stuff like that in competition, by the way. I've been told to uninstall League of Legends on more than one occasion in League of Legends. It's just...
Apparently people do speedrun Animal Crossing.
Yeah, you can speedrun anything.
I mean, that's fair. You can.
Like, I've seen Small Ant speedrun something like Cooking Mama or something. Like, you can... Every game has a speed... Usually there's like an end goal, because not all games have like a specific thing. Like, Minecraft games are usually to get to the Ender Dragon, or there's another type of speedrun where you're trying to get a certain number of resources, like build a specific thing, and it's random each one, and you're playing against like another player to try to beat them in the speed run, to see who gets to it faster or whatnot.
We
Like,
were so focused on if we could that we never thought to ask if we should.
Well, that goes to that. I can't remember who the game designer who said it, but like one game designer, I can't remember his name, is famous for saying that like a game designer's job is to prevent the player from optimizing the fun out of the game.
But you can't win with that.
Well, I mean, like, because a lot of it is like your job is to make it so like, oh, is there a shortcut here that somebody's just going to take and avoid all this other stuff? Because they're just going to take that route instead.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, you say that, but it is like impossible to fix everything.
Yeah, no,
There's
it's
always
impossible to
stuff
fix
like,
everything, sure, but
like people will
that's
find, given enough time, people will find it. Like I said, Breath of the Wild is a good example. They found a way to essentially float walk by having holding a square bomb and wiggling Link.
Yeah, the wiggle bug.
The wiggle bug.
It worked. It worked on what's the newest Dark Souls type game that came out recently? That's that new one.
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. Yeah, that was also a bug on Elden Ring because they're built on a similar game engine. So like instead of holding something, they would do a block motion and then wiggle and then release the block, and then they'd fly to the other side of the game. But this one also had the negative effect of like, because they flew through the world, it despawned the ground, so bosses would fall to their deaths, and it would actually end the game for you. So like the world record any percent speed run is like 12 seconds for Elden Ring.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so there's stuff like that, but yeah, no, it's not quite that extreme of a move with Breath of the Wild. It's very much you're wiggling and you speed up when you wiggle.
Gotcha.
And depending on the bomb determines one. Like if it's a round bomb, there's like a cube bomb and a round bomb, and the cube bomb you have to wiggle, and the round bomb you kind of have to go around in a circle or whatever. But it's just like a weirder process with that. But you also have to like there's like a few different things that just someone happened to do one time and found a bug, and then like people figured out how to use it for a speed run, and that's generally how it is. And there's lots of like walking through walls to get into dungeons that you shouldn't be able to get into type stuff. You are quiet. I can't hear you.
Well, maybe it's just me then.
What? No, I can hear you
It's-
perfect. I can't hear
Okay.
Zev. I don't know why I can't hear you.
Yep. Seems to be universal. I can't hear him either.
Yeah. Well, trying the
On speed
nope.
runs, yeah, that's
My
sort of-
brain was
it's
like,
universal
my
in
brain
gaming.
phrased that wrong. I was saying the in and out method. That sounds really wrong.
Yeah. But the in gaming, in all kinds of games, there's always those sorts of things. There's things that can be done, and there's things that shouldn't be done, like walking through walls. That you will discover that you can find various points where soft spots where you can go behind the scenery or that kind of thing
Yeah.
without falling to your doom.
Yeah, and there's but yeah, I don't understand. Well, I definitely can't relate to certain aspects of toxicity where people feel like they need to prove that they're better. That's never been my mentality with games or whatnot. Not to say that I don't care about getting better. There's a difference between needing to prove that you're better and wanting to learn how to get better to actually get better. Like, whether or not you do is all a learning experience.
Yeah. There's also people who do genuine griefing in games where that's part of social toxicity. But I'm not sure that that's really part of, that isn't. Part of being a marginalized group doesn't play into that, really. That's just people, they do shitty things because they can. It's anonymous. I'm sure anonymity plays a large role in that, and
Yeah. Definitely.
a group game where there's an item that is critical to completing the quest, and someone will literally take it and jump into lava. Leave the dungeon and quit the group just to laugh at you guys because the thing is at the bottom of the lava. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is definitely something I have seen in gaming. I think in oftentimes it's called hinting, like intentionally losing. But like that word is also thrown around anytime someone does bad, or not anytime someone does bad, but like sometimes when someone doesn't do as good a job as the team wants them to do, all of a sudden it's like someone having a bad day, and it's like, oh, you must be hinting or whatnot, because he didn't do everything right, he made a bunch of mistakes, which people make mistakes and people can get haunted. Hopefully, I have a adjusting headset just broke. The mic is broken.
Well.
So,
The gremlins are after us again.
some of us have like the worst luck sometimes with mics, microphone. So bring it back here, and yeah. So it's just So I guess outside of safe spaces, what do you think can be done about and by safe spaces, obviously, I mean like places where people can feel comfortable being themselves, without getting
See, that's
yeah.
part of it. That's what that I don't know. In gaming, like I said, I always viewed it as being it's a social thing and it's a social idea. I mean, I have in games voted people out of the group, out of the team, simply on the basis of the name they picked. Okay, you pick a name that is a racial slur, and they, okay, you wanted to be
Yeah.
edgy. Congratulations, you were edgy. You wanted to be offensive. Congratulations, I'm vaguely offended. You earned my vote. Goodbye.
Yeah, yeah, and uh that reminds me of a side note of the toxic environment on Twitch sometimes and YouTube, especially around Pride Month. Uh,
Yeah.
the worst of the worst up here, and sometimes, although like that one, the most recent time, it was mildly upsetting, or it threw me off my game for a little bit, and then the second person, it was just funny. Like, yeah, I've heard worse. This is mild, really awful stuff. Like, cool, you're muted and about to be kicked. Have a good day. Like, it's my channel.
Yeah. Bye
um,
bye.
but yeah, I mean, I definitely see that attitude. In or sorry, there are certain things. There are plenty of league matches I have played where fights break, like arguments break out before the match has even started. The match hasn't even started, and players get all pissed at each other already, or
I
yelling
have
at each
heard
other.
people saying that that was all part of the game, that you're trying to get into your opponent's head and to get them off their game by using whatever insults you can to try and shake them up and rattle them. And my attitude on it is, if you're willing to behave that way over a game, what are you going to do in life where it's actually important?
Yeah, but also I've heard people make whatever excuse they want to for whatever, or sorry, some people make whatever excuse they want to for whatever toxic behavior they want in game, because like I have heard of people in League of Legends who, or sorry, heard of people's not. I have been in a group with someone before in League of Legends. Uh Luckily not while streaming or in games that I care about. Draft pick games I care about. But like I'm aware of a person who has an attitude that if who will actively work against their team if the enemy team has a quadra kill to try to get pentakill on screen. Or at the very least has said that's why they did the thing they thought was fun, which is involved screwing over their own team.
Oh my. Yeah. Team team games are you always play for the team you're on as well as you can. I
Yeah.
have a hard time. I know that it's a game and it's all about fun. And that has to be the primary thing. It's fun. If you're there to make money, then it's about the money more than it's about the fun. I understand that. But otherwise, it's about the fun first, and it's about winning. It has to be somewhere in the second thing. You can't have it be, it's fun is what it's about.
Yes. I mean, I agree with that, but I would say that
it's easier to have fun when you're winning.
I can get joy. I can have fun in the competitive part of a video game.
Yes.
But like that's different from there's competing to compete and to improve. And then there's competing to look good to other people. And the second is really frustrating because then it's not as much about fun as it is about creating a pseudo clout, even if it's not to something that anyone knows about. It's just like important that people do what you want. I guess the controlling teammate it is not a helpful teammate. And there's different types. Like you can lead, or you can expect people to take your orders. And those are two very different play styles. And two very different things. I'm not a fan of the order hierarchy, like top down, you do what you want, otherwise I'll yell at you about you not doing what I want, regardless of whether or not realistically it would be helpful. And then it's also your fault if we lose, even if we lost because you followed the orders of the person.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. The everyone else's fault person, which is never fun.
There's a reason why we lost, and I can assure you it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, exactly, and that's its own frustrating thing. Like, there are games where, admittedly, I feel like I was a major reason why the game was won. Like it's not like I am not. I don't think I was the best player of that game, but like I was one of like the top two. It was like I was second best, I think, in that game in terms of the playing of the game, because like that match, most of the match was 4v5. Our top laner wasn't connecting, and we just kept rolling with it, and we won. But like, I was definitely a part of that. The reason why we won. It was kind of fun. Admittedly, the other team was bad, but like because of the top laner's internet problems, like it was 18 minutes in a League of Legends match that was 4v5.
Okay.
Like winning something like that, it's easy to be proud of. I don't know why I was bringing that up. Apparently I'm just bragging now. apparently I'm the toxic gamer. It's all the league. Increased my toxicity too far.
Yeah, and I'm saying that if you can create a culture, I don't know, the competitive games are going to always have an element of competition. And
yeah, and
you're,
oh, sorry.
if you're competitive enough, you're kind of forgiven.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gets into problematic stuff when the toxic masculinity, the toxic aspects of masculinity, start to seep into that culture, and I think because that affects the importance of competition. Like it puts a larger emphasis on winning than there needs to be. And it's not, like I said, it's not that winning isn't good. It's not like it, I definitely care about winning. Especially in League of Legends, but like I don't, but that shouldn't be like your ability to win in a video game should not be what you use to determine your value as a human being or other people's values as a human being. It's a very unnecessary hierarchy that I feel like stems from some of that stuff.
Well, I don't think it's wrong for people to be happy and proud of being good at video games.
Yeah, no.
It's no different if you're really good at soccer and you go, I'm really good at this activity, soccer, tennis, whatever, and you go, I think I can actually make a living for a while doing this. And you go, I don't see what's wrong with people pursuing that kind of thing and thinking about it and wanting it and working towards that.
Yeah.
And being proud of that they're good at it, and maybe even doing something career-wise with it, or maybe not. Maybe just going, I really enjoy doing it and I plan on doing it for quite a while, and I'm going to be good at it while I'm also doing whatever it is that I want to pursue as a career or vocation or.
Yeah.
And all those are I view as being, totally good options.
Yeah.
For people, but some people poo-poo it, and I want to be clear that that's not.
Oh. Yeah, I just bragged about a match where I won in a 4v5, and I could also brag that I finally got S- in Warwick. I know it's not that special to get S- in Warwick, but I consistently get, on average, I think I'm starting to get in the B plus A minus range on average. So the average match for a Warwick game tends to be usually at least B plus, more often A minus, I feel like at this point, but which is the general assessing of your ability with the character. Ideally, I want to get good enough to get consistent S pluses with Warwick. That level of good, which involves not making mistakes, like not trying to gank someone near their tower too early in the game, or when the bot laner is running up, because you're not going to fight two people and a tower, especially at early game. But yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a lot of random league stuff that went on in my head. But the point is, I agree that it's good to be proud. It's fine to be proud. It's just like your value as a human versus like you being proud of something. Like you're not less valuable as a person for not being good at it, but a video game. But like, you can be like, I enjoy playing this competitive game, and yeah, I feel good about my my level of skill.
Yeah. It's the can you not be great? Isn't it enough that you succeed? Must all your friends fail? And if the person was saying, I'm really good at tennis, and if you're not good at tennis, why would I pay any attention to you? Why would I, be interested in what you think?
Yeah.
Who the fuck are you? If you can't, and you go, that's a really strange metric you have going.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's the same for gaming. You go, that's a really strange.
Yeah.
What made you think that was a yardstick? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, and like I mentioned with the Smallent example, some of them are really random yardsticks where they're just made up to try to feel like they might be better than. Some people have a really high bar, which they believe they are at.
Yeah.
Like, as much as proud as I am of my League of Legends ability, I am like really low in the ranking system for ranking matches, and I don't expect to get. I'm not motivated to try to get higher with that until I get more used to the game and some of the aspects. But like, that involves training, and that involves the essence of sport, which is mentioned in the League of Legends song Legends Never Die, because I am obsessed with League of Legends. Don't hate me for it, I know that.
I never would have
like
guessed.
Legends Never Die, they talk about like the whole thing where, because people see LeBron and they don't think about like all the work that LeBron does to be as good as LeBron. People seem to think that people are born good or bad.
Yes.
And you see that in gaming communities as well. And that is an aspect of the toxic thing where they're just like, you should uninstall your game because you're not good at it right now. And we lost this draft match, not even a ranked match, a draft match, which doesn't affect your rank in the game. Yeah, it's just it's not how things work. Steph Curry, LeBron James, these are people who worked really, really hard to get like it. Yes, they may have had some advantages or whatnot, natural advantages or whatnot, because they're like top tier athletes, but like there was also a lot of work, like a lot of work that you just don't see in the matches. You see the results of all the practice, but you don't see the hours of practice that go on.
Yeah.
Which is why people should be nicer to each other. And with that note, Perfict, where can people find you?
They can find me here. I also have a Discord, the Rumpus Room. Links will be below. And if they can't find that, they can find the Fluid Voice Discord, and they can just ping me there by sending an @
Yeah.
If you don't know how to send an @ Discord has a full explanation if you try and ask them.
Yeah, and while Xevaris has done a little a little bit of YouTube content, a lot. He didn't mention any desire for me to promote anything, and he hasn't done anything new for a while. He's had a lot more focus on the semi-pro nature of his World of Warcraft Classic thing and other life stuff.
Twitch.
What?
Is he streaming anything on Twitch or anything like that?
No, not currently. No. I, however, am streaming I stream League of Legends on Monday through Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, and I stream Rainbow Shelter News, which is a bunch of news of varying amounts of time of news at 1 p.m. Eastern, and I may or may not start streaming Space Engineers at 1 p.m. Eastern. And on my YouTube, you can find silly League of Legends clips that I have, because I don't take the game super seriously. Like, I like it, I like winning in it, but like, I care about the comedy more for the shorts. You can find those occasionally on YouTube, and I stream at 1 p.m. Eastern on YouTube on my channel. Tomorrow I might be going through so one of the gender critical type or whatnot that's friends with J.K. Rowling went full mask off. I've seen clips of it, but I have the actual unedited video, and I might just be I might try to find that on stream, and maybe do other stuff. I'm kind of casual with my streams on my YouTube, and obviously you can find me here. And Rainbow Shelter News also shows up here the next day, and yeah, and occasionally I'm on Instagram and TikTok, although not as much as Twitch and YouTube. And I'm in a lot of places. Possibly too many places. Oh yeah, I also occasionally on Mastodon.lol, and basically Ozma In The Dark. You can find me almost anywhere as Ozma In The Dark. I maybe should have just opened with that. And that said, your voice matters, your life matters, and you matter. Bye.
Peace.